Enemy demons slain. Allied Revenant spawned.
Created through cybernetic augmentation and repeated Lazarus wave exposure, the Revenant rains death from above using its rocket cannons and jetpack technology. One of the more agile demons in Doom's multiplayer, you have a superb blend of both damage output and mobility. Take this demon to the next level using our latest tips and tricks. Your primary fire will launch a straight firing barrage of rockets. They explode on impact, dealing massive damage. Your projectile is fast, but as any other weapon without hit scan, you must aim on prediction of where you think the opponent will move. Get used to predicting your opponent well, and the frags will ramp up before you know it. The main source of mobility for the Revenant, your secondary fire will propel you into the air for as long as you hold the button down. Your jetpack has a charge limit, so be mindful when using it to navigate. Time your jetpack duration poorly and you risk falling to your death or being out of position. To get your charge back, simply release the secondary fire and allow it to recharge naturally. Much like the Kako Demon, using your flight high above your opponents is a good way to contribute towards fights, forcing them to choose aiming up at you or down towards your team. Finally, if your jetpack takes damage, it will be out of action for a short time. Be mindful of this when taking on multiple enemies without an escape route planned. The Revenant can't hurt itself with splash damage from its own rockets. You can use this to your advantage. When an enemy is close by, the most efficient way to deal with them is to fire directly at the ground in between your enemy and yourself. The rockets will detonate immediately and your opponent will be fragged through the splash damage alone. You'll take no damage whatsoever and can move on to your next fight straight away. At close ranges, facing more than one opponent, this is the fastest way to clean them up and prevent taking too much damage to lose the demon rune unnecessarily. Because your shoulder cannons house unlimited rockets, you don't need to be selective over where you fire them as you move around the map. If you see a hall or doorway and don't mind making your position known, there's no reason to not fire rockets around the corners just in case an enemy just so happens to be there. This will both prevent you from being flanked by enemies and clear out a potential death room if more than one opponent is inside. The speed and fire rate of the rockets makes this strategy particularly useful. With a health value of 300, you're by far one of the weaker demons in the game. This means you have to be careful about blazing into a fight that may have multiple guns on you at any given time. Take things slow and pick your moments to go in during fights. You're dangerous in a 1v1, sure, but take on multiple enemies spread out and you run the risk of being outnumbered fast if your rocket firing isn't on point. If enemies are taking you on with ranged weapons with fast projectiles, the damage you take will rack up fast. Another key item to be wary of is an enemy with a Gauss cannon. If you encounter an enemy with this particular power weapon, get out of there. Unless you catch them off guard before they've scanned the area, a headshot will essentially wipe you in one shot. If you secure the demon rune at the start of the match, look to use this as a means to secure the Gauss cannon for your team. This prevents the major threat of being taken out early. Combining damage and mobility is a dangerous tactic in Doom, and the Revenant fits this style perfectly. Be mindful of where you tread against groups, and you can create a nightmare for the enemy team. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.